This is the Impressions Exchange Podcast. Where all topics impacting the graphic imaging and printing industry are addressed via in-depth news coverage, analysis, and timely interviews.
Hi, I'm Denise Gustafson, Editorial Director for Printing United Alliance, and the guest host for the special Printing Impressions podcast series in celebration of Women's History Month, highlighting women in the printing industry. During this series, I'll have the opportunity to talk with women from all segments of the industry about their experiences and their journey as a woman in the industry. Today, it's my pleasure to welcome Leslee Barker. She is Director of Graphic Center Operations with Miller-Zell. So Leslee, welcome.
Well, thank you very much for having me today.
It's a pleasure. So now I know that you have a new title. So tell me a little bit about what your new role is with Miller-Zell.
Awesome. Well, thank you. So the new title is Director of Graphic Center Operations. In the past, I was the Operations Manager for the Graphic Center. So the fancy new title means that I am over the manufacturing of or for Miller-Zell. And we do large format, wide format, digital printing and screen printing here in the Atlanta facility.
Well, awesome. And congratulations on that new promotion.
Thank you.
That's all still shiny and new, I think, too, right?
It is just a few months old, so very exciting.
So, of course, I have to ask, how did you get started in the industry? I mean, did you just kind of wander into it? Is it something that you said from a young age, I'm going to be in printing? Generally, that doesn't happen, but I have to ask. Some people, oddly enough, it does.
Well, it kind of did and kind of did not. So I don't have any upbringing in the printing industry, but my parents were into technology. Parents were both educators. I went to school at Georgia Southern. I went to school for marine biology, nothing to do with technology and printing.
Yeah, none at all.
Nope, but they fibbed to me. They did not have that course down there. There was a prerequisite to get into something else, and I needed to stay in the state of Georgia, being third child. So while there, again, my parents' love of technology and education kind of took me into that building and got with the professors, got into printing, loved my classmates, loved my professors, and really got into the nitty-gritty of printing and how CMYK made all these kind of pretty pictures show up in the world.
That's really, really cool. That's definitely, marine biology is a little bit different, to say the least, but it is very interesting just how the influence of your parents and their interest in technology kind of pushed you in a subtle way into printing.
It did. So at Georgia Southern, they had technology paths, and then there was a printing education path. My older sister also had gone to Georgia Southern and graduated with, at the time, both of us got printing management degrees. I believe it is a different title now, digital manufacturing, perhaps. I'm not sure what they changed the title to after we all left. That was quite a few years ago. But so my sister got me into it. My parents got me into it. And the reason I ended up at Georgia Southern was because I wanted to work with animals, and they kind of fibbed to me.
So I guess the question I have for you is, what was it about print that really made it so interesting to you?
I like watching things come together with the world of wide format. Obviously, you put a blank piece of paper in and it comes out with the image on it. But with litho and screen and flexo and gravure, to be able to watch the different plates or the different inks and the different colors come down to create that image was always something that was fun and exciting for me. And just everywhere you look, there's print, and people don't necessarily realize that. They all think of magazines, or they think of a pamphlet. They don't think of the signs over your head or billboards or car wraps or anything that's out there that's print. So it's kind of fun to explain it to people.
It definitely is. Getting into print, obviously, you probably realized it was male dominated in certain ways. I mean, you have a strong personality, which is probably really, really beneficial. But what has been some of the challenges that you've encountered because of being a woman in a male-dominated field, in a manufacturing field too?
Some of the things that I have seen is kind of when I am at trade shows. I am only 5'2", so when I walk up to a trade show booth with a man, 9 times out of 10, they are taller than me. They automatically, in the past, would look towards the men, and they would start talking to them. Very thankfully, my coworkers would redirect to me and the conversation would pick up from there. But I did notice for a long time that the majority of the time they would look to the men first. Now, as I walk up, obviously with being in the field for 20 years, I've got a reputation. I think they also see the short blonde coming, that they know it's me and they'll start talking to me instead of somebody else. But that was a little bit of a culture shock for a while there, to be like, they should be talking to me. But
So, how do you empower others or even empower yourself in situations like that to make sure that you're the one that they're talking to in those cases?
typically, I believe I would just make a joke about it, whether it's actually it's me that needs to be the one to answer that one. I have been very thankful for, again, my coworkers typically would redirect. 9 times out of 10, they don't want to answer the questions anyway. But that's just mainly the way it's been for me, is that I've been able to have either make a joke about it or have people help me redirect towards me.
Through your career in the printing industry, have there been certain people that you've been able to look up to or have been really good role models for you as you've had this journey through printing?
Absolutely. One of my favorite people to speak about is actually Ford Bowers. He was my manager and mentor for quite a while. He is still somebody that I can reach out to and talk to. He gave me one of my best pieces of advice, was whether they want to hear it or not, look them in the eye and tell them the truth. And that has helped me out, I believe, a ton, because people know that I'm not a yes woman. You're not going to get the answer you want. I may be faster than when you thought you were going to get the job. I may be later than when you were going to get the job. I may be more expensive, but you're getting the truth regardless of whatever it is you were looking for.
I mean, honestly, truth is probably the best bet in all instances, no matter what.
It is, and I have no issue whatsoever telling you I am not sure, but I will circle back and let you know what the answer is. And I think that has also been kind of one of my saving graces. I am not the smartest one in the room, but I can find the answer and come back to you fairly quickly.
Now, being confident in yourself to be able to say, look, I don't know the answer right now, and I'll come back to you. I guess my question is like, what are the characteristics that, or is that something that you were instilled from your parents? Is that something you just learned along the way? Is that something that can be taught?
I hope it is something that can be taught, because I'm constantly trying to teach that to other members within my team, because that is one of the strong suits I think that people have. When you automatically say, yes, we can do it, and then have to come back and eat crow, that's never a good look for anybody. So to always teach people, if you don't know the answer, have no problem in saying, I don't know, but now you've made me want to know what it is as well, and go find that answer.
That's really good advice for anyone, women, men, doesn't matter. It's good advice for anyone in the industry. And now looking at you, obviously you're in a leadership role. Are there any unique challenges that you face as a female leader in the printing industry? And how do you address those issues or challenges?
The issues I face, I believe, would come from just when people are looking at me not knowing what I would know. So as a woman, I think one of the strengths that I have is being able to have the honed emotional intelligence that men don't always have. So when you're in a conversation and you can read the facial expressions, you can see emotion coming, whether it's good, bad, sad, and you can stop a conversation and redirect. That a lot of time helps. If it doesn't help that employee, it helps the conversation, whether it's stopping it completely or keeping things from going out of line. It is a very good thing for any leader to have, but I think a lot of women have that, and it helps out a lot.
I agree that I've seen across the board is that emotional intelligence that women have to be able to read situations. Not that men can't, but it's different. I don't know if that's just also just kind of an ingrained thing we have as women. We look at the world very differently than men do.
We do. I was in a meeting the other day with several different people, and I could see that an employee was having a hard time. Their eyes started to gloss over a little bit. The rest of the room was continuing the conversation. I stopped the conversation, asked them if they were okay, asked them if there was additional things that need to be said. Did we need to clear the room? What did we need to do? And I think one of the big things that I bring to Miller's L and to my leadership role is I'm an advocate for all of the employees as well. want to make sure that their voices are heard, want to make sure that they feel safe. And I think that that also helps me navigate in my career, because I can help when you're reading the room, or just help lead with that entitlement.
In that instance, helping all employees. So for you, it doesn't matter, male, female, whatever, you're helping the employees to succeed.
Mhm.
I guess my question is, what steps can we take as an industry to improve how we work with other people, whether it's gender, whether it's race? Are there ways to be more inclusive and to work better with a broader range of people?
I believe there is. Millersville has a diversity committee, and we aren't just trying to make sure that we have different genders, different races, different sexes, different whatever in different roles, but it's making sure that everyone is growing and everyone is thriving, and that we are able to come together. Part of the diversity committee, we have different events and things that are here, and they also make sure that everybody's voice is heard. So we make sure there's Black History Month. I believe it is Spanish speaking history month. There's women's history. We try and highlight different employees, make sure that we are highlighting their strengths, things you didn't know about them, and just different things that everyone brings to the table. Everyone has a different path that they've walked, and to be able to say that everybody has the same knowledge is definitely not true. Common sense is not common, but when you bring everybody together, everybody has something that they can add to that conversation.
I have to agree. That's probably one of the favorite things that I say is common sense is not so common. You'd think so.
Yes, I say it probably once a week. I'm told about once a week, I hear that it should be common sense. And my response is always that common sense is not common.
Like you said, it's different ways that all of us have come to this point in time. There's different paths. Like you said, the paths that we have walked have been different experiences, different backgrounds. You don't understand what life experience has brought a person to this point. And it's all different, but it's all valuable because it offers those different perspectives, the different ways to look at things, which I think sometimes can be missing if you don't have a diverse group that you're working with.
I 100% agree.
As a woman in the printing industry and as a leader in Millersville, obviously work and home life sometimes can kind of get a little difficult to manage. So I guess my question to you is, how do you balance the demands of a career, because you definitely have had a career in printing, with also having a fulfilling personal life?
Well, it's definitely a challenge, but I think that a lot of that comes from, again, strengths that a lot of women have, and that would be schedule balancing. We can be 100% in one direction, be able to stop, put on that soccer cap or whatever it is that we've got to do. For me, going and walking the dogs, taking whatever trips I need to with the girlfriends and things like that. But you've got to be able to have time to wind down, but you also have to be in it and to make sure that you are getting everything that needs to be done, because that's what women do. We make sure that everything happens and that everything, all of our I's are crossed and our T's are dotted, is the other fun thing that I like to say.
Yes, indeed. And me as an editor, I might be twitching a little bit, but that's okay. I guess moving into just the community aspect of this is, how important is it for you as a woman to be able to grow in your relationships with others in the community, for you to network? How important is it for your own professional growth?
Well, I believe networking both professionally and outside of work is very important. With Millersville, we give back to the community with Special Olympics, breast cancer events, Alzheimer's events. The team actually will be performing in Battle for the Brain, very good event for Alzheimer's. We did that. We also have several people that are going to be volunteering this Friday at an animal shelter. So there's lots of ways to give back. You get to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet and connect in another level that way. And then within networking within the company, or the professional aspect of it, Women in Print affiliated with Printing United is absolutely amazing. Girls Who Print is another great organization that I'm a part of, that I love to connect with these other strong women, whether it's at a trade show, whether it's at an industry event, and being able to see what they're doing, what I could be doing, or just being able to pat somebody else on the back and tell them great job is a big thing for me and for the community, I believe.
Indeed. How do you celebrate success for women in Millersville?
There are very strong leaders here at Millersville. A lot of them are women, and we together are constantly helping each other learn, thrive, and grow. We constantly give each other the high fives. You get the usual great shirt, great dress, great whatever, but also great paper. Saw the article that you wrote, saw this new sign that came out. We won this job, great job. There's a lot of that goes on here that I think is very vital to make sure that we are successful, is that we're all supportive of each other, no matter what the role is.
Like you said, part of the community and the networking to celebrate those victories that you have and to support others in the industry. I think it's important to do that because sometimes I think that could be overlooked just in general because we're so busy with everything else that we're doing that sometimes even the little wins, why can't we celebrate them?
100%. You've got friends that you may not talk to for months, and then you get on the phone and you're talking to them, and maybe an hour goes by and you feel like you've totally caught up and you may not talk to them for a couple months again. It's not because you don't love them, you don't want to connect with them, but you're seeing everything on Facebook or Instagram or whatever social media it is that people are using these days, that you get to like what their children are doing or like some trip that they've been on. But to connect and be able to support your friends, family, and coworkers, I think is a big deal.
So now looking a little bit ahead, I'm going to ask you to take out that crystal ball. I know we all have one somewhere. What trends do you foresee in the printing industry that might impact the women in it? Is there anything that you've noticed or seen or maybe even started to experience?
So automation to me is a big thing that is coming up in printing even more and more. It's something that is not necessarily going to reduce the workforce, but it should be able to empower women and men alike in being able to lift something you maybe weren't able to lift before, freeing up your time to where you could do more things to help the company grow, to help yourself grow. So I think automation is something that's going to help the printing industry and men and women alike. I don't know that it's necessarily just women, but I think automation is a big thing that's coming and continuing to grow and helping us in a lot of different ways.
Mm-hmm. Especially as a leader, I mean, having automation and also having it connected with, various MIS systems, or so that way you can make smarter financial decisions, smarter, just even decisions within manufacturing.
Mm-hmm.
What to pick, what not to pick. I know when I toured with you back just before Printing United Expo last year, it was amazing to see the facility at Millersville and just the knowledge that you have about all the different machines that are there and time, when it's time to replace or not replace. But a lot of that knowledge, while it's something that but you can also go back to those programs and say, this is why, and come back with those financial or those hard data reasons, which I think is also really, really beneficial to kind of prove a point too, in some ways.
I agree. I think that you almost always have to go back and be able to support your decisions and be able to stand up and say, this is why I chose this one.
And in some ways, then it helps to disarm the stereotypical, oh, it's just something that you feel, or it's just something you think. No, this is the proof that I can show you in, hard numbers or costs or things along those lines as well.
Yep. We do a really good job here of estimate versus actuals, coming back after things have been done and making sure that we're doing what's right for the customer, we're doing what's right for our employees, and then we're doing what's right for the company itself. So I really like data. It's not just ones and zeros, but there's a lot of data.
Definitely is. So what are your aspirations for the future? I mean, we can talk professionally, we can talk personally, little of both. What are you looking to do in the next 5 to 10 years?
5 to 10 years, I am looking to travel a bit more. COVID has made it to where people didn't travel a whole lot. I had wanted to see all 50 states before I was 50, and that put a little bit of a damper on doing that. But So I would like to travel some more and then continue to go to different trade shows, help out in industry events, be more of a part in volunteering with the company and outside organizations, just being a better human, I think, as we all grow and evolve together.
Mhm. Definitely. All good goals. Kind of the closing question that I like to ask all women is, knowing what you know now, you've obviously been in the industry for a couple years. Knowing what you know now, knowing the experiences that you've had over the last 20 or so years, what would you tell yourself if you were just starting out in the printing industry? What advice would you give yourself?
One of my favorite pieces of advice is shoot for the moon so you can land among the stars.
Oh, cool.
But that's a very large goal. The moon is very far and the stars are quite far away. So what I've kind of adapted that one to recently is once you have a goal and you've planned it out a little bit, what's that first step? Take that first step, achieve it, and then your next goal is that next step. You still have your big goal, but you have these smaller measurable steps that actually get to give you the little wins and the successes versus when you're first starting out, I want to be the president. Well, that's going to take a while to get there. So you have to have the steps to get you there. And that's kind of been what has helped me lately is it's definitely easier to walk a mile before it is to hike that mountain. So what's my first step?
Mhm. And that's a really great and balanced way to look at it. Yeah, we always shoot for the stars. You want that big goal. You want that you could see it. And it's great. But then when you start really planning that path, there's a lot of things that need to be done, a lot of knowledge that you need to take in, a lot of things you need to learn. So how do you break it down into those smaller goals?
I think that's the best part is I can't see how to get all the way to the end, but I can see my next step.
Hmm.
And so if you can see that next step, take it. And then you can see your next step and your next. And I think that helps make everything more measurable and more attainable and definitely more satisfying to be able to check off these little boxes instead of just that one giant box.
Definitely. And hey, it'll give you an excuse to party a little bit along the way.
I think so. And travel.
And travel. Hey, that could be part of your reward to yourself. You've made that micro goal, you've made it. We'll move on from there.
I think so.
Well, Leslie, it was a pleasure talking with you today. I really appreciate taking the time. I know we can probably go on with a bunch of other things, but I'll have to save that for another time.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Denise.
All right, thanks again.